This is the homework from 6.5. Go. Alright, so the point of this homework, the reason I'm having you do it, is to help you remember several things. First of all, what do we know about the slope of parallel and perpendicular lines? Well, this first column is about parallel lines, and all parallel lines have the same slope. So if a line is parallel to another line, and the first line has a slope of 2, then the other line has a slope of 2. And for perpendicular lines that cross at a 90-degree angle, the slope is the opposite reciprocal, or negative reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal. I have to move this over to have room. So, for example, if the slope was 2, the perpendicular line would have a slope of negative 1 over 2, the reciprocal. So I'm going to do 3 examples and leave the other 3 for you. So, on the first line, they give us the equation of the line in slope-intercept form, y equals 4x plus 1. When you have slope-intercept form, this coefficient is the slope. Slope is the number next to the x. So, slope is 4. And the y-intercept is not the 4, but the 1. It's the constant. So, they're telling me that it's parallel. So my line is going to have the same slope. And my intercept, they give it right here. So it's pretty simple. It's negative 7. So if I'm going to use y equals mx slope intercept form, I'm going to have y equals, our slope is 4x. And what's our intercept? Negative 7. So I could either write plus negative 7 or I could write minus 7. Either one would be correct. So if it's a parallel line, the slope is the same. If it's a perpendicular line, so let's do the next one down. A perpendicular line. Move this up. Okay. Okay. So the other thing we're remembering here is the different stuff we learned in those first 4 chapters. So one thing we learned is to find the constant rate in a table is going to give us a slope. So we have to check and make sure over here that it's increasing by 1 every time. And it is. 3, 4, 5, 6. So since that's increasing by 1, we could find the slope by just finding what is the constant rate over here. How much is it increasing or decreasing each time? So if we forget about the negatives, it's obvious that it's going by 2. So we just have to figure out, is it going up by positive 2 or is it going by negative 2? And if you think about it, this is going to the left on the number line. So we're going down 2 or in the negative direction. So that's our slope. So that means over here, if we want the perpendicular, we have to take the opposite reciprocal. So it's going to be positive and it's going to be 1/2. And they're making it really easy by giving us what the y-intercept is. It is 8. Okay. So y equals mx plus b. Up here I wrote that for you. Y equals mx plus b. So make sure you wrote that down somewhere. Y equal, I'm repeating it for those who weren't, oh, well, you can't see that. Anyway, y equals mx plus b. Easy. Y equals 1/2 x did that suddenly get dark? Plus b, 8. Okay, so I'm going to do one more for you. We'll do another parallel one, same slope. So now we have to find the slope. Okay. All right. So this pretty much, this one homework has everything you need to know. Almost everything you need to know about the first couple of chapters. So if I'm going to find slope, I have to find 2 points, and I'm going to need my glasses. Okay. So, all right. Okay, so I have to find a lattice point. There's a lattice point. Here's another one. Oh, and there's one here. That's helpful. So I'm going to use this one and this one. So it's like I have to make a right triangle that goes from one to the other. That's all. Okay, so I just have to go. I could either go straight, thinking about, this is maybe easier to see now that you're more familiar with right triangles. We could either go from here to here, or we could say, oh, I have to stay on the lines. I have to go down and over. And I just figure out how many spaces. 1 space down, 1, 2, 3 spaces over. Okay, it doesn't matter what the coordinates are if I'm counting. I could use the coordinates and subtract to find the same numbers, but that's for another day. So, rise over run. My rise is 1 down, so that's -1. And my run is 3 to the right, that's the positive direction. So in my y, I went down 1, -1, and in the x direction, I went +3, so that's our slope. So, and our intercept here was 2, but that's not what we have to do. We have to say, okay, y equals -1/3. And I want you to notice that I'm putting the x sort of right next to the fraction bar, and that's one way of writing it. You could also write it -x/3, and you'll see it both ways. So that's my slope. My intercept is -9. Which could also be written adding -9. Okay. So these are equivalent. So I want you to get used to the fact that you might see things written different ways. Okay? Alright, so use what you know, slope and intercept, and then you write the line. Slope goes here, intercept is the constant. So slope is the coefficient of x. The number that is multiplied by the x, that's what the coefficient is, that's the slope. Slope times x plus the intercept. Okay? Thinking about all the patterns we did, it means where did we start? How did we grow? We started at a number, we grew by a constant rate that we were adding every time. So if you're adding something over and over and over and over again, that's multiplying. Okay, it's back to our basics.